Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Monday, September 14th, 2020. I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting of the Othello School District Board of Directors. I want to welcome all of our guests who are on the meeting tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight. We will begin this meeting by doing the flag salute. So if y'all join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the Thank you once again. Welcome all our guests who are with us tonight. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy nights to join us tonight. Again, disclaimer, hopefully we avoid technical difficulties tonight. We've been very fortunate. Our team has done a great job with that. Nonetheless, things happen, but hopefully nothing will happen tonight. Having said that, I will entertain a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda.
I would like to approve tonight's agenda. Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
I'll second with changes. I would like to move the student representative reports to B2 and board member discussions to B3. I would like to add under board discussions, WASDA conference discussion and another discussion about our joint meeting with City Council. I would like to remove C2 from the agenda.
Okay, there's been a motion by Director Prowse to approve tonight's agenda. The motion was amended by Director Stevenson to include moving student rep reports, making item B2 to B3, making board member discussion B3, in board member discussion, including or adding a bullet point for a WASDA conference discussion and the joint meeting with City Council discussion as well. All right. Can I get a second to that?
Wait, I also removed C2.
Thank you. Also included in her amendment of the motion, the removal of C2. Can I get a second to that motion? I will second the motion made by Director Stevenson. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Sharon, did I hear a yay? I'm sorry. Maybe I got ahead of myself there. Is Sharon on?
Sharon's here.
Okay. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, moving on. Public comment tonight. We do have a couple folks who have requested that they have an opportunity to speak to us tonight. I will begin by letting Allison Voigt go first. Allison, if you're on, if you'll just introduce yourself, give us your name and address for the record, and remember, we're listening and we will take heed whatever your topic is. Generally, we like to limit this to 3 minutes, but you know, if you need an extra 30 seconds or something, you know, we're going to let you tell us what's on your mind tonight. So having said that, Allison, if you're on, the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Allison Voigt. I live at 1913 Ellen Avenue in Moses Lake, but I teach at Wahidas Elementary. Thank you, board, for hearing me tonight. I'm speaking out against preemptively returning to in-person education, both as a teacher and as a parent. I have 3 amazing boys. Liam and Jude are 5-year-old twins, and baby Tate is just 1. Liam has had to overcome so many health challenges in his short life. I will explain only a few of his airway and breathing concerns here, as it would require much more than 3 minutes to go through all of his medical history. When Liam was born, he struggled to eat without his heart slowing and his breathing stopping. 2 years later, he was diagnosed with a laryngeal cleft, which not only caused his breathing and heart problems, but also made him inhale all of his liquids, as well as his own saliva. This has caused quite a bit of damage to his lungs and has led to lung infections on a nearly monthly basis, many forcing him to be hospitalized and on oxygen. Liam cannot fight even regular colds without a struggle, but with regular surgeries and other medical intervention, we are learning how best to support him. Last year, during a surgery we hope will permanently close his cleft, his doctors found his lungs are not formed quite like other people's. He was also simultaneously diagnosed with laryngomalacia, basically a floppy airway, which required an additional surgery, during which Liam coded and needed resuscitation. Liam's life is literally at stake if we go back to in-person education. His body does not even handle small infections well, and having seen him literally die and come back once is enough for my family. Please do not ask me to risk that again. Until now, I have spoken mostly as a parent, but I would also like to speak as a teacher. Being a specialist at an elementary school means servicing every student in the school. If we reopen to in-person, either hybrid or fully face-to-face, it will put me in contact with nearly 700 people each week. There is no possible chance I will not be at a minimum exposed to the virus, but at worst become infected and then infect my family. I would also be a potential vector of spread, causing my students and colleagues to be exposed if I became infected without showing symptoms. Additionally, if we open in an in-person model, as current Othello numbers stand, we will be closed very quickly. There's no chance there will not be community spread through every school. Going back and forth from blended to online will cause instability for our students, which is a known risk factor for both anxiety and depression. Staying online until the numbers tell us it's safer will give consistency and structure to kids who desperately need it. This virus is not only killing people of all ages, children included, but it's leaving survivors with lasting and potentially permanent damage. There have been neurological, cardiovascular, and respiratory impairments for many survivors months after the initial infection. Many of our families live in multi-generational homes, and a majority of the families we serve are of Hispanic origin. COVID has disproportionately affected these communities, both in transmission and in death rates. Until COVID numbers are in a safer range, going back to in-person learning will knowingly cause infection in an already severely at-risk demographic. I cannot, in good conscience, risk the lives and well-being of our students or their families. Thank you for taking my concerns into consideration.
Thank you for that, Allison. I appreciate you bringing your point of view to the conversation. Thank you for that. Also, Jill Powell is with us tonight. She has also asked to comment. Jill, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. My name is Jill Powell at 849 South Middle Lark Lane in Othello, and I'm a school counselor at Scootney. I do have a disclaimer. I'm going to read just due to time. I want to make sure that I hit all the key points. So I wanted this opportunity to share with you guys a survey that we did with students in the district at the start of the year. And many of us counselors already conduct a yearly student needs assessment to find out what the students' needs are. This is how we develop our small groups and figure out what topics to start with for our classroom lessons. This year, I really wanted to hear from students on how they were feeling about online learning, so myself and teachers know what kind of support and work we need to do in the coming weeks for students. Because I don't have time to go over all of it, I emailed you the results to take a look at, and in the meantime, we'll just highlight key findings. But since the start of the school year, we have surveyed almost 500 students. Most of those students are 4th, 5th, and 6th graders from Scootney and Wahidas. And I believe that other buildings are taking a similar survey. I just don't have access to their data. One of the questions asked on the survey is, how do you feel about online learning? And the good news is that out of the emotions expressed, 47% of students are feeling happy or excited to be learning again, even if school's online. But on the flip side, we also have over 200 students express feelings of concern for the school year. Feelings like disappointment, frustration, sadness, kids are feeling mad, scared. And I just think it's important to know that multiple feelings were also checked on behalf of the students. So I want to highlight that roughly 300 of the almost 500 had mixed or negative emotions about online learning. So although I, as a student, could be feeling really excited about the school year, I could also be feeling anxious or nervous about the school year. Another question asked was, what are your worries about online learning? And students reported, I mean, if you look on the data that I sent you, there are hundreds of responses, but some of those responses are feeling scared, waking up on time, maybe they're not going to get enough learning in, not seeing my friends, my internet turning off, learning hard things online, not understanding the content, falling behind, my sister's being distracted or distracting. And so all of these things there's a lot of comments about the students' worries, and you can find them on that information I shared with you. Another question asked was, will you be able to make every Zoom meeting with your students? 57% of students said that they will be able to make every Zoom meeting. Almost half said sometimes or no, they will not make every Zoom meeting. Over half the students said they are helping or getting help from siblings, which may or may not hinder their ability to learn. And as you guys know, a lot of our kids are serving as multiple roles right now. They're caretakers, students, tutors, food providers. So there's a lot of pressure, sometimes without a parent in the home. Why now have I decided to share this with you? The reason is I am genuinely concerned about the mental health and well-being of our students during this time. And I'm especially concerned about suicide and depression rates going up in our community this fall. Many of you have already heard that CDC is predicting depression rates going up by 40%. And I feel like as a community, we need to build in support so the statistic is not us. What are we doing now? So I have this data, what are we doing? And I can speak for myself and probably the other counselors that we'll be starting small groups for students so they can process their feelings and talk about healthy ways in dealing with them. Teachers will be using this data to support their weekly Zoom SEL work. And if possible, I will continue to do home visits to assist families with needs because I feel like I'm more effective when I'm in person. Last year, I made 13 outside counseling referrals, meaning kids getting additional mental health services. And so far, in the last 2 weeks, I've had 3 outside counseling referrals, which if continued at that rate, would be roughly 50 referrals by the end of the year. The decision to seek additional outside help in each one of these cases was made in person during conference week. A fear of mine is that number could be higher due to the fact of kids not being seen and not getting the help they need in these uncertain times. I just wanted to bring awareness of the implications that online learning can have on the mental health aspect. And I thank you for your time and thank you for considering this information.
Thank you, Jill. Also appreciate your input tonight. It was very interesting to go over your information that you sent us. No, thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to speak to us tonight.
Thanks.
Moving on to item, Talia, maybe I should ask, was there any more? Those are the 2 that you reported to me. Is there any more public comment requests? Thank you. Moving on to item B2, Elise and Lauren, do you guys have anything to report?
Hi, Mike. It's Lauren. I'd like to talk tonight.
Okay.
First off, I'd like to thank the OHS staff and administration. These first 2 weeks of online learning went as smooth as we could be expected, and I feel so supported. There has been a lot of communication between the teachers and their students, and we know if we needed anything, we could definitely reach out to them. But online learning has not been an easy adjustment. I, along with many other people, want to be back in the classroom so badly. We miss our teachers, our peers, our coaches, and our sense of normality. While we have been able to set up a schedule and gotten used to what classes look like nowadays, some students are feeling some serious pressure and stress. Many students have had to find jobs to support our families or become the full-time childcare. I also know it's very difficult to continue with our studies when we feel like there's just nothing to study for. There's no clubs, there's no sports, and students just feel so unmotivated. I hope that the leadership students can find ways to help their peers. I know I have a lot of ideas, but again, I'd like to thank the administration and the teachers, and of course, thank you, board, for listening to me.
Thank you for that, Lauren. Elise, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yes, I also have something to share. So today, so on Mondays, for Zoom, we only have one Zoom at the high school, and it's our Husky Future Zoom, which is basically our homeroom. And so today in our Husky Futures, we discussed questions and concerns that we had about online learning. And so I just wanted to share with you a couple of the things that I've heard from my fellow peers. And so a couple positive things that I've heard is that quite a few kids enjoy online learning because they get to do it from their home. And they can do it at their own pace for the most part and decide because we know what we need to get done, but we can choose to do it however throughout the day we want to do it. And some of the concerns that we've had about online learning or things that kids don't exactly know like how to do or exactly feel confident about is that a lot of kids just feel overwhelmed because at the high school we're doing 3 of our classes in one semester, and so instead of over 2 semesters, so there's just a lot more work that we have to get done. So so sometimes the kids feel like the teachers aren't doing the best job explaining because it's not hands-on right there and you can't ask the questions right when you have them. And so I guess that's just one of the main concerns that I've heard students ask, but that's all I have to share. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Elise. Appreciate that as well. Moving on to board member discussion. We have several items there. The first one is a legislative report. Director Stevenson, don't know if, I'm sure you got a report, just don't know how extensive it is.
Actually, we will need to decide at probably our next board meeting how we want to vote for our General Assembly. Mike will be our official voter for our district, and I'll be the backup voter. But we'll also need to talk about priorities. So have all of you received the handbook from WASDA? Yes, Mike. Yes, Ken. Okay, so if there's any, I don't know if you've had a chance to go through that, but if there's any concerns that you have, or the legislative issues are the things that I have the most concerns about, those are the things that we have to rank, the top 5. And then WASDA, when they go to the next legislative session, that will be the top 5 things that across the state we pick as WASDA. That will be the things that they push. The other things will be important, but those 5 things will be what they push consistently and share with every legislator that they talk to. So we need to make sure we get the right 5 things on there. And so that is a big concern. Because of how they're changing it this year, we've never had that opportunity before to really address that and to be able to rank those. So.
All right. Moving on, just want to remind ourselves of our board self-assessments after every meeting. Let us not forget to hold ourselves accountable and assess how we did in our meetings. We received an email from Chris about our start time, or the request of the start time at Wahidas. Don't know if the time requested or the time asked of us, if that works for everyone. I think we do need to consider their schedules and the way we're wanting to format this, and the people we want to talk to, and how difficult it would be to have it at those times. So remind me, Talia, was it 1 o'clock for the meeting?
Yes, it was 1 p.m., Mike.
1 p.m.
All right.
Is that going to work for some of us or most of us to be able to get on and have a Zoom meeting at 1 o'clock and talk to these folks?
Remind me of the day again.
Remind us, Chris.
Isn't that September 22nd? Is that the date, Chris?
Thought it was.
We're getting that information right now. Just 1 second.
Sorry, the date will be October 6th, since we decided that we were going to be moving the board meeting to October. So it'll be October 6th.
Okay. So let's just put that on our calendars and remind ourselves that on the 6th of October at 1 o'clock, I'm sure we'll be getting an invite and an agenda. Will be our Wahidas virtual visit, first one of the year for this school year. Moving on, Jen, you requested a WASDA conference discussion.
So WASDA conference this year is online only, not in person, but we have to register by October 2nd. And so I just wanted us to all start thinking about, and if we're ready to answer now, if we are planning on going. I'm just pulling up what exactly the dates are. It's November 18th through the 21st is what I have in my calendar. Maybe it's the 19th. I think I always add an extra day for travel. So I'm ready to plan on just that.
Jen, is the agenda online yet? As far as the courses offered or sessions, breakouts?
I don't know. I don't think so, actually.
I would say once that's out, I think we can take a look at that and maybe kind of do when we go in person, divvy it up and decide, I want to go to these sessions or what have you. And depending on what days those fall, I don't know if registration is going to be flexible or not, or if you got to do the entire time and the cost is the same or isn't. I mean, I don't know all the details as of right now, but as it's getting closer, I think that's something we can put our heads together with and choose our breakouts. And that way we can all, at the end of it, put together a report as to what we learned. But again, that will be, I think we keep an eye on it as it's coming closer to when they do publish the breakout session schedules. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
Right, but if registration is due October 2nd, we only have one more board meeting before registration's due.
Okay.
And so it's not until later in October, middle to ish of November is when the conference is. And so that's what my concern is getting registered.
I would then recommend that I need to get registered tonight or say that I want to get registered. I don't know if others are ready to say that or not or commit to that, but I, for one, want to get registered to attend the virtual conference.
And at this time, I will be unable to attend the conference. So.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and get me registered. I'm disappointed, like everybody, that it'll be on Zoom because I just feel like that's so ineffective for something like WASDA, where you feed off other people's energy and all the things being a part of it in the room together. But yeah, let's do it. Better than nothing, I guess.
So the format that they're using does make it so that we can have breakout sessions and actually have like chat discussions amongst other board members across the state, because they realized that was a huge key for us being able to network with other board members across the state and come up with all kinds of different ideas. So they have come up with a format that will make it so that there's different topics in different rooms, and you could go in and read those different topics and the discussions that have already been made. And then like I guess I attune it to like Facebook, where you can click on that person's comments and then it will give you their contact info if you choose to contact. Anyways, I'm not quite sure. But they said that you could actually then reach out to them later on and say, how did you guys do that? Or all kinds of different things that way. There's also board boot camp, which I know, Lindsay, you attended last year, and there's a couple of those boot camps coming up. I think I sent you guys all, just forwarded that email. That's mostly a Sharon thing because it's boot camp is for first years or those that haven't attended boot camp before. So anyways, and that's free this year instead of an extra charge. So.
All right. Yeah. Just for those, like Sharon, I don't know if you're ready to commit tonight or not. I know it's a ways out, but when you are, or if you are, just let Thalia know so she can get us registered to attend WASDA virtually, even if it, like Lindsay says, it's better than nothing. And I'm sure they're going to make it interactive to where if we choose to, we can have conversations or chats or whatever we're going to deem these going forward. Thank you once again, Jen, for that information. I want to thank, before we move on to the joint meeting with City Council.
Mike,
yes?
I think Sharon would like to comment.
I'm sorry, I don't have a
Jen,
screen.
you can go ahead and put me down.
Okay, great.
All right. Sorry, Sharon, I didn't have you on the people that I can see, so that's why I didn't hear you, but thank you. Appreciate it. I want to thank those that were able to attend the Zoom session or the go to meeting with City Council. I was not able to. I have listened to it since, and I want to thank the board members that were there for representing us. There was some good topic. There was some good discussion. Looking forward to the meeting in December. But I do, again, I want to thank you all that were able to go there. I don't know if there's anything that you guys want to discuss, talk about that went on at that meeting tonight that we want to have a conversation about.
I think my biggest thing was, do we feel like it's productive enough to continue? I mean, I know there was a higher purpose and things there. I think that we all had a frustration or two. But, and what do we want to share with them?
Definitely, I thought it was good because we both need to work together, and we both need to work together in the same direction for our community. We all have the same citizens. They all pay the same. We use the same tax dollars, and we need to try to do it as wisely as possible on both ends. And I think we need to keep on with the meetings with them, definitely, because they're experiencing growth within the city limits, and we are experiencing growth within our school district. And I think with a collaborative effort, we could do this very easily and make it easy for our citizens too.
I thought it was really good. I feel like moving forward, it's much better to collaborate together than to continue on this path of we're out for ourselves, you're out for yourselves. And I don't know, it seems like there's some history that I've been a part of and maybe no one on this board has been a part of, but just that energy between the two boards has just carried on through some years. And I personally would like to be a part of that change and flush the toilet on all the old stuff that went on between the district and the city and move forward in the best way possible. I'm not looking for anything from the city. I know there were maybe some city council members who felt like we were out there, asking for the moon, but I'm not looking for anything from them, just looking for to collaborate together so that we're, in our future looking for school locations. We're not purchasing land that we're not going to be able to use. I don't want that to happen. So that's my intention moving forward. But I think that it was a good meeting, and we need to continue them so that we can move forward and work together and not separately.
I also thought it was a good meeting. And this next time, they're going to be asking us the questions, so it'll be interesting to see what they want to ask us.
Yeah, I just thought also a comment that Ken made towards the end where he talked to the mayor about this being a good time to work collaboratively in efforts to perhaps get financial assistance that we would go request as a district and as a community. I think if they saw the collaboration between the two bodies, perhaps it would give us a better opportunity. As the mayor said, budgets are going to be probably not what we think they are and probably looked at as places to cut funds. But if they see that as a community, we are working together to try to achieve the most we can, I think that it's a good time. I agree. We continue these meetings and look forward to the meeting on the 8th of December, I believe it is, 8th or 9th. I can't remember the exact date, but I'm sure we'll get an invite. I just wanted to thank everybody who was there.
Can we add to the board agenda for the first meeting in November that we discuss topics that we want to share, and hopefully I'll have some answers then or something close, or have them be able to have told us what they want to know. And then also for the next board meeting, we can talk about add on the next one, the WASDA General Assembly, our priorities.
Okay, I'm sure Talia's taken note of that, and that'll be on our meeting.
Thank you.
Next
Okay.
one. Last bullet there, a hybrid in-person discussion. I want to full disclosure here to everyone who's listening tonight. This is not a discussion that we're having to take action on tomorrow. This is a discussion that a few board members have been having, and it's just something in the back of our minds, looking at neighboring districts, looking at some national statistics, schools that have opened up, things of that nature, kind of trying to, put our heads together on a possibility, on a potential. I was approached by a community member. My response was that this is such a complex issue, or such a complex decision to make, that it's hard to just say, yeah, you bet, we're for this. I think as a whole, most of the district is wanting to get in front of our kids as soon as we can. And unfortunately, that as soon as we can has a lot that comes with it before we can just, stoutly and vigorously say, yep, let's go to this. But tonight is a discussion, the beginning of hopefully a series of them. And let's put out there where we're at, what we're feeling. And I will ask those members that requested this to take charge.
I'll go first if that's okay, Mike.
Sure.
I just wanted to call to the attention to the board. Tri-Cities has announced they're going back to a hybrid model as of October 1st. There are several districts in Eastern Washington and Central Washington that have chosen to go back to school in person. I know Moses Lake officially starts in person, though they were supposed to start today and they didn't. And so it's not fair to use them as a model because they haven't started. And so maybe they'll start and get shut down. I don't know. But I'm friends with Jan Benzel, and she is the health director for Royal City. And she gave me a bunch of information about how they had chosen to move forward and what that has looked like since they started. I wanted her to be here tonight, but she was unable to, but she did say that she would meet with the board or with people from the district and answer any questions that they had on how Royal City is moving forward and keeping their kids in school in a hybrid model that makes sense for them. I also talked to Jill and read through her data, which I thought was really important. There's so many things that our kids aren't getting online. And I can say that from personal experience. I have 3 children in elementary school. I know what they're getting at home versus what they could be getting in school. And I know what my struggles are for my family. And if my family is struggling, I can't imagine what kids who don't have access to internet are doing, kids who don't have a parent at home to help them do their schoolwork. I mean, we have real struggles of, kindergarten, first, second, third graders that have amazing teachers and amazing parents, but their parents aren't at home, they're at work, and the teachers are doing the best that they can, but these kids just aren't getting what they need. So I would like to move forward in a way where we have K through 3 or K through 6 back in their classrooms as quickly as possible. In a way, even if it's hybrid, anything is better than nothing. And if we can't get our high school kids back in, at least they have the accountability to help themselves. But these little kids who don't have any adults helping them, I just would really like to see us find a path forward to get at least K through 3 or K through 6 back in the classroom as soon as we can. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I did a little poll on Facebook just amongst my friends to see where they were at. I had 80 people comment and people share the post, and even more people commented on those shares. The overwhelming majority, I'm talking like 98% of the comments from teachers and from my friends who have kids in school were all, they want their kids back in school. So I feel like I would like to see us honor that and do what's right in our community. I'm not saying COVID's not a big deal. I'm not saying that it's not real and that we don't have to do what's necessary. Royal City is doing it. But I also feel like we're a unique community. And you know what? We're strong and we can go together and we can do this. So that's where I'm at with it.
Well, I kind of feel the same way too. I believe we need to start looking at that path forward to try to get our kids back in school. There was a conversation a while back with the county health doctor and the Moses Lake School Board, and they actually come out and asked the doctor if the county or the state has even took
I think we lost Ken.
Ken, you're frozen. If you can even hear us, you're frozen.
here concentrating on the COVID so much, we have another virus that's coming through the back door. And that's going to be the mental health issues and all the other issues that come along with that by not getting our kids back into school. I believe we can do this safely and address all those issues with those parents, those teachers, the paraprofessionals. I know you have ones out there that will not feel comfortable, or they have family members that are more vulnerable to the COVID disease, that we can work with them, because we're also going to have parents that are not going to feel comfortable having their kids back in the classroom yet. So we can make a collaborative effort to try to put these together so we could still run our hybrid system and also do an online system for those that we need to still protect. But in that same protection, we need to protect our kids that need to be back in school. We have those that need to be in front of teachers in order to learn. We have, I'm going to bring up Desert Oasis High School. Those kids are a very unique situation. If they can't get that one-on-one, that's why they're there and they're still in school, because they need that one-on-one with those. They need that encouragement and that drive being there in that school for them to go. And I'm afraid we're going to start losing some of these. I know the district has been doing a wonderful job with what they have got so far. I have to compliment them, the district staff, all the teachers, and everybody for all the hard work that they have been doing. But by no fault of theirs or anything, we had some things going against us when we started this. And of course, that is our very rural area that we have here, the lack of internet capability and trying to get out all to them. I know the district is working hard to try to solve that by putting buses in hotspots areas and everything else. But then there's also the issue of everybody getting on the internet at one time. It slows it down. I've heard multiple complaints of
Ken, we've lost your sound. We can see that you're talking, but we can't hear you, Ken.
And I think by working in a direction to try to get more in person with our kids would be much better at this point. And I'm not saying let's do it right now, jump into it next week. I'm saying let's start to take those approaches to get to that point. I think we're starting to see a few more teachers that are more willing to spend a little more time in front of the kids and everything else too. So let's get everybody's input on this, everybody's buy-in on this, so we could get to that point to get our kids back in.
Ken or Sharon, anything you'd like to share?
I also would like to see the hybrid started Just like today, when there was no buses able to go out for Wi-Fi, how many of those kids didn't get a lesson? If we had them in the classroom, they'd be getting the same lessons as everyone. I'm doing the same as Lindsay, and it's not been the easiest. So I'd like to see us start looking at it. I know it's going to take a little while, and all the work that everyone has put into this, everyone does appreciate it. And it's not a slap in their face. It's just that we see that the kids need to be in school, even on a hybrid time.
All right. Jen?
So I have quite a few concerns. First of all, what happens if we can't get OEA on board and PSC? If you're planning on approving the PSC MOU, the Public School Employees MODUS, what does MOU stand for? Memorandum of Understanding, is that right?
That's absolutely right, Jen.
Thank you. It is very clear in the PSC and in the OEA that we will not go back until we are less than 75 per 100,000, and we're over 600 right now. Even if we did decide and could get PSC and OEA on board, I think mandatory, you have to allow those that are not comfortable to do online only. And teachers, I don't think that OEA will go for doing two different models, hybrid and online, even if we got them to say yes for in-person, without a massive fight. I'm not saying that traditional or hybrid is not better learning than the option that we currently have. I just have concerns about children bringing it home to their families, to their grandparents, to their community members and their neighbors. I've had other parents say to me, well, what if I signed a waiver saying that we won't sue the school district if someone in our family got sick? Well, that applies to mom and dad and the kids, but that doesn't apply to grandma. That doesn't apply to the neighbor. When Moses Lake discussed this, and they were so rude to Dr. Bresney, the very next discussion that they had was, when we get sued, how much are we covered for with their insurance company? And that's to say, if our insurance company doesn't drop us, if we do decide to do it. So I have a multitude of concerns about going back to on campus, especially with one of our campuses at one point, before we even started, having 9 people out at a time. That would have been a shutdown. So the going back and forth that would be happening, Dr. Bresney has been very clear about when he would shut down a campus, 2 cohorts. I would see that happening fairly quickly. And I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer or anything. That's how I'm seeing it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody's feelings tonight, your input tonight. And I'm gonna stick to what I said at the beginning. This is such a complex situation, but at the same time, and it's hard to be inclusive of everybody's feelings. It really is. Allison, her public comment tonight, Jen, the discussion you and I had that pertains to your situation, these vulnerable folks that will not come back. Chris, I am going to charge you on behalf of this board to do a survey. And I would like that survey, sir, to be very inclusive of all community members, every Othello School District employee, teachers, classified, non-classified, PSC, non-PSC, I mean, everybody that has a voice, which is all our stakeholders, to be a part of the survey. I want this to be a simple survey. We don't need to have a bunch of questions that are going to confuse these folks. You know, what is their intent? I know we did this a while back, but I also know that a lot of things have happened in this interim. Let's find out. a state of the state of our community. Jen brings up OEA and PSC. Those are things that we have to consider. I hate to use the word because of legal ramifications, but that's where our situation is. But I also feel, based on a lot of conversations that I've had with educators, that I think, like Ken mentioned a while ago, there has been some change of hearts. There have been some folks that are, you know what, our kids are not going to be able to make up the stuff that they're falling behind on, and that is ultimately our goal as a district. But at the same time, we cannot just neglect COVID-19. None of us are trying to do that. None of us are trying to minimize that, myself included. This virus has hit my immediate family in ways that brings you to your knees and makes you realize that this is serious. But at the same time, we have to take a macro view at this, knowing everything that goes into this. And Chris, if we could, give this, I don't know, it's not something we want to sit on either. A week, 2 weeks at most, Chris. Let's try to get as much input as we can. If you could disseminate that information for us, and then we as a board collectively get back together and look at what our community is telling us. If a question can be, Chris, if they're parents of kids in this district, obviously as a community, we all have a say in stuff, but it'd be interesting to me to know that the people answering the survey, if they have kids in the district, I think that would, to me, be a more truer representation of their ideas, of their feedback. To the board, I appreciate every single one of you guys, and I know that our phones, at least mine, it's been off the hook, and it's concerns that we have to deal with. It's our constituents that we owe explanations to. It's the community members that are worried about the education of our kids, and this is a valid topic. To everyone that's listening or is going to listen to this, please don't feel like you're being singled out or you're being looked at as, Jen tried to call herself Debbie Downer. I don't see it as that. These are legit concerns, guys. These are things that we need to tackle. To Chris and the district staff, you guys have done a phenomenal job. And Sharon, you used a good phrase. This is not a slap in the face. This is not telling you guys that you spent all this time on this and now we're asking you to turn it around in 24 hours. That not at all what we got going on here. As a matter of fact, I think you guys are already thinking about some of these things, and I commend you for those things. So Chris, I think that bit of information, sir, back to us. I guess I'll make an executive decision here and say no later than the next board meeting. That'll give us 2 weeks. I think that's ample time to those that are interested in giving their input to answer this survey, make it available on as many platforms like we usually do to get the most participation on this survey. And I'll open it up, board members. That is what I think that's the first step. Try to get as much info as we can going forward with the subject.
Chris?
Mike? Oh, I was just going to say, can we also include our students in this survey? Because I felt like our student reps, they did a great job in telling us the things that in the ways that they're suffering and the ways that their friends are suffering. So I would like that survey to also go out to the students. I don't know how to get it to, I don't know how, but you guys are the miracle workers. But I would love it if the students could also.
Yes. Chris, is 2 weeks enough time?
That's what I was thinking about, just the time frame. I think what I can probably do is get back with the board tomorrow, because we'll regroup immediately, probably tomorrow morning, talk about the timeline, talk about the survey and all of the stakeholders we want involved. If I could just reach out to the board tomorrow and just give you a realistic timeline, if that's appropriate, I would appreciate that.
Absolutely, Chris. I just wanted to have a time out there, a time frame established. I was not in any way trying to pressure you into this or anything. No, but I do want to restate, we don't need an elaborate survey. Let's try to simplify this as much as we can. The core of what we're trying to get to is where our community is on either in person, hybrid, or how they feel about what's going on right now. Go ahead, Ken.
Mike, I was just going to say, since you were kind of asking for a nice, good, simple survey and just kind of explaining it, is there any chance that you could review it before it goes out? Since you kind of already know what we want on this and stuff.
Absolutely. I got no problem if when the survey's put together, if it can, you can make it available to me, Chris. And I think, well, guys, it's
we can
all of
make
us.
it available to all our members, Mike.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
Yeah.
So I have a question and comment, I guess, together. What happens if someone that is currently an employee but is also a parent, they would answer the questions differently? Can they answer two? One as a parent, one as a staff member in some way? I mean, I know that kind of skews things, but if their views are different, as a parent, I want this, but as a teacher, I want this, or something along those lines. I know that sometimes that's hard to answer, but I guess I'll put that out there to the board. What do you think about that?
I think if it's available on Facebook and stuff like that, when people voted for the mascot and have done other surveys, if you have it available on Facebook, but then parents can answer it as a parent, and if you get it at your school email, you can answer it as a employee if you have differing views. As far as the timeline goes, can you still hear me? My internet's going slow. I hate to be this person, but 2 weeks feels like a really long time. 2 weeks and Tri-Cities will be starting school. So if there was any way we could make that timeline shorter, not that I'm saying that we have to compete with Tri-Cities. I just want to have a plan that's like, we're moving and at a pace faster than 2 weeks. And maybe that's not realistic, but I just feel like time's ticking. So I'm not saying we should go back to school tomorrow, but 2 weeks just seems like a long time to do a survey and then make a decision after that. We won't be going back to school for a month at least. And maybe that's the right call. I don't know, but it just feels like 2 weeks is a long time before we even start talking about getting back.
Now, and I would just caution Lindsay that we may think this survey is going to go a certain way. We won't know. We won't know until those results come back. I hear you on the time crunch. I really do. But I also think, I know it's harvest season. I know spuds are coming out of the ground. I know apple harvest is going on. I know there may be some parents that won't get time to get to it right away. So I, for one, unfortunately think a 2 week time frame is the least or the soonest that we want to have this done. Chris, I don't know what your feelings are.
Yeah, just like I just shared a minute ago to all the board members, I think it's something I would certainly like to talk to the executive team about, and for us to really look at the content. I mean, if it's that simplistic, we could probably get the survey out pretty quickly. However, that's not the issue. The issue is really disaggregating the data. So I don't want to promise or overpromise to the board a timeline that's not realistic. And I say, okay, yeah, we could do it for under 2 weeks or in 2 weeks. I think we just need time to get together, to collaborate, and really get the information out there and get back to the board as quickly as possible. I think that message is certainly received from all of the board members and from you as well, Director Prowse. We'll take everything into consideration and get back to the board tomorrow on the timeline.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate that.
Thank you. And I just wanted to reiterate what everybody else has said about the district being absolutely amazing. Dr. Hurst, you have been a really great leader in this. You know, I respect and admire you. I think everyone at the district office and everyone who works at our district is just phenomenal. So, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind you guys will figure out the right thing to do. So I appreciate everything you guys have done.
Thank you, Lindsay.
One other thing I wanted to say is that the OEA MOU says that we will not pivot without giving all of OEA at least 1 week worth of notice. From the time we make the decision until the time that it goes into effect, currently, unless they want to do something else with that. We need to give our teachers and staff plenty of time to be prepared, to be as effective as possible with whatever method is going to happen. Potentially, students will maybe have to change classes, even campuses, if they choose to do something that the most, like my kids will be online, period, no matter what is decided. Because of the health of my husband, my kids will all be online. And so if all of the rest of my kids are, their classes are teachers choose to not be online, my kids might have to change. And that's potentially something that could happen to every child in the district. They could potentially have to change to a different teacher. So there's a lot of other logistical things that have to happen. Not just for, let's do it, let's go tomorrow. Just something to put out there so that we're not excited and want to go immediately. There's going to be some time to make it even happen. Even once we do, and if we do make a decision to make a change.
Absolutely, and that's being heard, Jen. I think everything, every plan that the district's brought to us, they have had the forethought or the foresight of considering everything. Again, kudos to you guys. And I'm sure, like Lindsay says, you guys are gonna, we together are gonna do what's best for our kids in a way that is safe and in a way that is least inclusive, I guess, something that is going to work for everybody involved. Again, great discussion. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Mike, could I just provide a comment and ask a question, if I might?
Absolutely, Pete. Go ahead.
Yep. I just wanted to go back to our discussions over the last several months around decision making and why we would go a particular direction. So the first piece is just a comment. One of the processes that we ask our building principals and our leadership teams to go through, it's from this protocol called the data-wise protocol. And when you look at data, we ask folks to begin with the assets in mind. And so there has been some recognition here about the kind of work that's happened at the district. But I will tell you that some of the anecdotal information that's been shared tonight about what students are struggling with and what families are struggling with, we should all be very proud of what our teachers are doing, how hard they're working, how much they have learned, and what a great effort that they are giving. Our parapros and the small groups that they're working, the technical expertise that they've developed over the last several weeks is incredible. And the investment that the district made in those ideas, I think before we move in any direction, I would ask you all to consider that. And the next time that we talk about this kind of work, that we begin with assets in mind and we think about all the good things that have happened. When I hear words like suffering, that hurts, right? That hurts everybody. Nobody wants any kid to suffer. But I can also tell you multiple stories of students who are thriving, students that have had incredible opportunities to connect with adults that care about them, and not in a way that any of us like, not in a way that any of us were trained in, but they're all giving such a tremendous effort. So I'd encourage us to think about that the next time that we meet. My question for the board as we begin to plan whatever the next steps are, I think taking a survey of the community and of our district it's a smart move. I think it's something we should continue to do no matter what direction we go. We need to know how people are feeling about the work. My question is, what metric are we going to use? And it gets back to the public comment that we had a bit ago. What metric are we going to use to close the school? How are we going to decide when that should happen so that we could pivot to another model? And I'm wondering if the board has thought about that, or other districts that you've communicated with, what metric are they using to decide when it might be more prudent to stay online?
I did talk to Jana Benzel about that and the metric that they're using in Royal City. I can't remember all the details that she told me. I'll have to ask her again what exactly that they're doing. I know that they had, I want to say 4 cases of COVID in students and 1 in a teacher. They have to do a bunch of tracing. Can't remember all the technical terms for it, but they had to trace where the kids came in contact with it, and they discovered they had actually caught it at home, not at school. after they did all their contact tracing. Anyway, so I mean that's kind of how Royal City is moving forward. I don't think anything is going to be seamless or easy. I'm just hoping to fight the good fight and see if we can figure it out. But I think Jana would be a really great resource for, I mean, her kids go to our school district. She just happens to be the nurse at the Royal City School District, but she's got a wealth of knowledge and had to come up with a lot of stuff. I understand Othello is, you know, twice or three times as big as Royal City, so it's not exactly the same. But she's at least a great resource as to she's made it up from scratch, and the health district has approved it and has given her the go ahead with it. So
Great question, Pete. And that I think is going to get the rest of us continuing our research. The point well taken. I just want to again underscore the fact of and appreciate all the hard work that's gotten into this. I know it's only been 4 days because Monday was a holiday of online learning. I've heard a few complaints about the internet capacity that Othello has as a whole. It's not so much what the district's doing or not doing. And no, we are, Pete, very appreciative of the work that everybody's done, from the folks getting our meals ready, delivering them, to our teachers, parapros, learning new stuff, doing things differently, everything. It is appreciated. And again, I thank you to every single one of you guys. Appreciate it. Okay, having said that, moving on to item C1, I will entertain a motion to approve required approvals tonight.
I would like to ask a bunch of questions first. Can we go in? Let's start with accounts payable. Let's start with Desert Sun Landscaping for $14,000. I think it's on this one. Yep, there we go. What was that for?
Becky, can you chime in on those AP items?
So I'm going to let Talia answer the question. She's done all the research, but I believe I can pull up the document that was provided to me today. There has been a lot of work done through the summer on the school sites, and there's been some fencing material. Let me go ahead and pull it up. So bear with me for just a second. Talia, are you with us?
Yes. Can you turn? Sorry.
You have your list of information.
Desert Sun for $14,000. This was an invoice for fencing, roofing, and labor for 2 new softball field dugouts at OHS.
Okay. Pre-wit hardwood for $17,000.
That is an invoice for sanding and sealing of the OHS hardwood gym floors.
Didn't we have those done last year? Or was that at all the other campuses?
That was at all the other campuses.
Okay. Oh, and we got the new mascot done there anyway. So even if we did, then okay. Stevens Clay, $62,000.
I'll let Dr. Hurst speak on that one.
Thank you.
So that was a period of 1 month, and when you look at that, you break it down, there was a small component of bargaining that was done with our attorney. And we know we've been bargaining with our OEA and PSE organizations. And then also there was a small component of public records. The biggest component, which was a significant number of hours and time, was spent on personnel matters. So that's all I can speak about the personnel matters, unless the board would like to know something specific, and then where I can talk about it more in the executive session. But I would just say the personnel matter was a significant amount of time.
Okay, and you say discuss that with the board in an executive session because of the privacy rights of a school. Let's see, What's the right word?
Because
Employee?
it's about the performance of a public employee.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So, okay. Blackboard. I know that we use this for like the robocalls, but is that like an annual cost for $15,000?
Yes, so Blackboard actually is our mass communication software and our website platform, and that is an annual fee.
I'm sorry, say again?
That's an annual fee.
Annual fee, okay. Edgenity, I don't even know how to say that, for 24,000?
That is our Odyssey-ware annual service contract. So Odyssey-ware is a platform that we use for students who need to catch up on their credit. So.
Right, credit retrieval. Okay. I think a lot of these last few relate to online education. Microcomputers for 29,000.
Those were the webcams for our staff during COVID-19 online distance learning.
OETC for 28,000.
That's for our Microsoft license renewal district-wide.
Oh, okay. Talking Points for 22,000.
So Talking Points is a teacher app that we're currently using that helps teachers reach all parents and guardians, regardless of language, via text messages in 100+ languages. And that is just our software license and support agreement for the 2021 school year.
Okay, so that's an annual fee also?
Correct.
If you said it's that long. And then Zoom, 24,000. Is that an annual or?
Yes, that's our Zoom license for the 2021 school year. That's our annual cost.
Okay. And then I don't necessarily want you to go to this document because it's attached to a person, but what is a CDS associate that we're hiring for?
I'll let Sandra speak on that one.
Thank you.
That's a communication disorder specialist. That's a speech language pathologist assistant.
Okay, gotcha. That is all of my specific questions as to what we're approving. So I'll make the motion that we approve the required approvals unless somebody else has more questions than my pile of them.
No, I second.
This would be the part where Mike says, so I'll just say it. I'm not sure where Mike's gone. All in favor?
I'm sorry, guys. I was talking, but I was muted. Technical difficulties. We have a motion by Director Stevenson to approve required approvals. It's been seconded by Director Prowse. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Wonders of technology. That's awesome. All right, moving on to item C2. There are some items under superintendent informational items. Don't know if we have any questions for Chris, or Chris, if you need any time to explain any of those documents.
I'll just share briefly. When you look at a few of these items, especially when you look at the warehouse facility update, this is really for the public, and also internally, we wanted to share with everyone that we were in need of a facility for our dry storage and our freezer, our cold storage as well. We put out a bid proposal in March of 2019. When we look at the document, you can see that in February 2020, we actually were able to locate a facility. When you look at the facility or look at the paperwork, you can see that we wanted to offer $1.7 million for the facility, which included the renovations. Also, we wanted to share with the public and also internally that as we continue conversations with the individual, there was a decision made by that individual not to continue selling that property to the district. So we did end that agreement with that individual. However, that individual did share with the district that they would be interested in leasing that same property to us. The district at that time shared with that property owner that we were no longer interested in pursuing leasing options of that facility. And that was more of an FYI for the public, but also internally. At this point, we're pursuing other options. We'll bring those options to the board of directors once we have those options available. The other documents
the other items are informational, Chris?
Yes, just enrollment projections and then just a status on our breakfast and lunch pickup.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. I don't see we have any questions on those. Thank you for the information, Chris. Moving on to item D1, we have a couple monitoring reports. I will need motions to accept the monitoring reports for EL1 and EL11. I assume everybody unmuted or Jen unmuted right away. So go ahead, Jen.
I move that we accept the monitoring reports.
My second.
Okay. We have a motion to accept monitoring reports for EL1 and EL11 made by Director Stevenson, seconded by Director Prowse. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we now will move on to policy review. There are several there. Are there any of those that we need that have modifications at this time that we need to review? Any?
EL7, GP7, and GP 7.1, although I think that we've already changed GP 7.1 again. So I actually sent in these revisions. They're fairly minor. If you want to go into EL7. I wanted to change the phrase lifespan to manufacturer's recommended service life. I just think that that sounded better there.
Okay.
I've got a question on that. So is this for like existing buildings?
Yes, and the components of them also.
Okay, because you're not going to get a manufacturer's recommendation for lifespan on a current building.
Okay, so the first part says manufacturer's recommended service life of all major components of all facilities and future financial plans for the maintenance, care, and replacement of facilities in reference to the manufacturer's recommended service. So it doesn't actually specifically reference a building. It references the components of that. And then how does that apply to a building? So it's not actually, it's all about the components of the building, not a building specific.
So if I'm reading this correctly, Jen, we are just striking span and calling it life, or are we adding the manufacturer's recommended service?
Adding manufacturer's recommended service in front of life. It used to just say a lifespan. And then maybe we should take out the italics.
All right, this is the first reading. I want to look at this a little closer. See if we can't come up with a different verbiage that still gets the same intent across.
Okay.
GP, what was the other, Jen?
7, GP 7. You have to scroll down because this is pretty long. There's a tiny little change. Keep going. There we go. So it talks about Robert's Rules of Order revised and updated from 1993. They just came out with the 2020 version. The 2011 version was the 11th edition, and that was the last time it's been updated. So that number is really out of date. So I want to go with the most current version. It just came out September 1st, I think, the 2020 version.
Okay, so I'm okay if that one is presented at the next board meeting as a final reading with that correction. Can I get some head nod?
Anyone else? What do you think?
Head
No, that
nods?
would be great on that one. It would be nice to actually take or have somebody give us a quick course on Robert's Rules of Order.
I know that we can do that at our conference, WASDA conference. They do have those breakout sessions. And it wouldn't be a bad idea if more than one person took because usually there's multiple ones. If we all took different ones, not all of us. If as many as there are, we took them. And then GP 7.1, because we changed the dates of the Wahida site visit here, and then down here is where, October 6th, and then they added Lutakaga and changed that to October 19th, where the changes there. I don't know if we'd be doing parent breakfast, so I'm a little, maybe October will bring something different. Right now, parent breakfast is not an option. We can always keep it in there and then change it then, but.
Yeah, I say we keep it in there for next time. Maybe by the next meeting, there will be some clarification on a breakfast or no breakfast. But all the other changes come as a result of changing the first one, correct? The first visit.
Yes.
Okay. So all the others remain the same. So I'm gonna ask that GP 7.1 and GP 7 are in there as final readings for the next meeting. And I will try to get something in there for the verbiage of EL 7. Hopefully we can agree on something there.
So do you want EL 7 to say second reading?
It will say second reading, yes, because.
Okay. Right, and then the other two will say final, right? Well, and just for your information, Greg Foltz and I brainstormed a bunch of different phrases because we had a conversation where he made fun of the word lifespan. And so I said, then what? So we brainstormed a bunch of names, and we both kind of, there was still a ton of names on the table. So feel free to, for that information that I had collaborated with someone else.
Very good. No, that's good. So Talia, moving forward, like I mentioned, we will have these stated, like I said, a final reading or final reading on the changes for the calendar and GP 7, EL 7 will be in there as a second reading, and we will have this continued discussion at the next board meeting. Thank you, guys. All right, moving on to item E1. The board of directors will go into executive session for 45 minutes for the purpose of reviewing performance of a public employee and to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase. No action will be taken following the executive session. So it is 8:18. Want to thank everyone who's on the call. Like I said, we will recess for 45 minutes. That's 8:20. Our 45 minutes will begin.
You said we'll recess for 45 minutes.
No, we will reconvene at 8:20 and go for 45 minutes. If more time is necessary, I will come back out and request more time. Having said that, I want to thank everybody who's on the meeting tonight. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we will now recess and sign on to the other meeting.